Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, think back to the last time you walked into a crowded, unfamiliar room. Maybe it's one of those networking events where you literally don't know a single soul. What's your first move? Do you instantly jump into a circle, desperately trying to make your presence known? Or do you hold back, grab a drink, stand near the edge, and just kind of watch?
If you fall into that second group, well, you already know the drill. People glance over and just assume you're feeling out of place. They immediately mistake your silence for shyness or intimidation. But diving into behavioral psychology reveals a completely different and frankly absolutely fascinating story about what's actually happening inside your head.
It really all comes down to this fundamental contrast, the myth versus the reality. Today, we're completely reframing that quietness. It is absolutely not a weakness, and it's not a lack of confidence. It turns out, sitting quietly while everyone else is just talking over each other, that's actually a highly advanced mental strategy.
Let's dive right into this roadmap. We're going to cover 01, decoding quietness, 02, active observation, 03, the psychology of silence, 04, cognitive restraint, and finally, 05, the weight of words.
Section 1. Decoding the quiet person, the silent architect. Let's look at the stark contrast right off the bat. On one side, we have society's default assumptions. You're shy, you're anxious, you have nothing to add. But look at the truth. That quietness is an exercise in active observation and high interpersonal sensitivity. Far from being checked out, it's actually a powerful sign of deep emotional awareness.
Moving right along to Section 2, the art of active observation, a rare mental trait.
The absolute crucial concept here is what we call observational intelligence. Think about it. While the loudest people in the room are burning up all their mental energy just planning what they're going to say next, the quiet person's mind is entirely free. They aren't just spacing out in the corner. They're actively studying behaviors and patterns to deeply understand the actual dynamics of the room.
Because they aren't distracted by the sound of their own voice, they have the bandwidth to gather incredible amounts of data. It's like they're putting a magnifying glass to the tiny things everyone else completely misses. We're talking about a slight change in tone, a micro-behavior, a tiny hesitation in someone's voice. They can see right through the surface level to spot signs of dishonesty simply because their radar is always on and they never stop gathering data.
And that brings us to Section 3, the psychology of silence, the uncomfortable void.
The truth is, the average person is deeply uncomfortable with quiet moments. You know that feeling, right? It's literally a trap of human nature. In fact, studies actually show it only takes about 4 seconds, just 4 seconds, of silence for a conversation to feel incredibly awkward to most people. That silence suddenly feels so heavy, and it naturally forces people to act, usually in ways they totally hadn't planned.
Just look at how this dynamic plays out in real time. When faced with silence, the average person starts talking more. They overshare, and they accidentally expose their real intentions just to fill that uncomfortable void. But the quiet person? They subconsciously know this rule. They stay perfectly calm and just listen, effortlessly gathering valuable intelligence as everyone else just kind of naturally reveals exactly who they are.
This leads us right into Section 4, mastering cognitive restraint, mastering reactions.
So, psychology defines cognitive restraint as the practice of deeply processing information before reacting to a situation. Instead of hearing a comment and immediately firing back with some quick, emotional reaction, the quiet person takes a strategic beat. They pause to fully analyze what's actually happening.
Notice the massive mental gap happening here. Let's say at second 0 an event occurs. Your average person might impulsively react by second 2. But the quiet person, they go into deep observation, then situation analysis, before finally arriving at a thoughtful reaction way over at second 6. This deliberate, slow approach is exactly why they are incredibly hard to predict and almost impossible to manipulate.
In this restraint, it's anchored by profound internal stability. Think about it. The loudest person often talks because they desperately need validation from the room. But a quiet person operates in their own secure bubble. They do not chase approval. Because they don't need to be the center of attention to feel strong, they remain highly controlled and remarkably hard to influence.
Which takes us to our final part, Section 5, the weight of words. Scarcity creates value.
We all know from economics that scarcity creates value, right? Well, psychology says the exact same thing about communication. When someone engages in constant talking, their words lose value. They just become empty background noise. But rare speaking, because a quiet person talks so much less, their words are like diamonds. When they finally do speak up, the entire room literally stops to listen.
Because they've been processing the room so deeply this whole time, their insights are incredibly accurate. They aren't just adding to the noise, they're cutting right through it. As a result, they actually hold the true weight of the conversation. Just one single sentence from a quiet person can completely shift the trajectory of the entire discussion. It's a real game changer.
So the next time you feel that pressure to speak up just to fit in, I want you to remember this. Do not fear the loudest voice. Fear the one who watches, thinks, and understands the room without saying much at all. You really don't need to be loud to be powerful.
If this explainer felt a bit like a mirror into your own life, I want to leave you with this question. How will you use your unique, quiet wiring as your greatest psychological strength in your very next social interaction? It's time to stop judging your silence and start using it as the highly advanced mental strategy it truly is. Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer today, and keep observing.